Welcome to this deep dive where we take our source materials and really pull out the key insights to give you that shortcut to being well informed.
Sounds good.
Today, we're tackling something really fundamental. It's about expressing our emotions in English.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely key, isn't it? For connection, understanding people.
Totally. It unlocks those deeper connections, helps you navigate pretty much any English-speaking situation.
It's not just knowing the words either, is it? It's getting those subtle differences, the shades of meaning, what's really going on inside.
Exactly. Being able to actually say how you feel in English, well, it just makes conversations clearer, more meaningful. Work, life, everything.
Definitely.
And we've got a fantastic resource to guide us today. It's an English language learning tool, and it focuses specifically on vocabulary around emotions.
Ah, useful.
So our mission really is to explore the practical language it offers, the insights. We want you listening to feel, more confident, more capable when you need to talk about your feelings in English.
Yeah, good goal.
So the plan is we'll delve into some everyday dialogue, see how this vocabulary just kind of pops up naturally.
Right, not just lists to memorize, seeing it in action.
Exactly, how it fits into real conversations. That's the key, not rote memorization.
Precisely. So let's jump in then. Our source starts with this short conversation, Emma and Tom.
Yeah, it's like a perfect little snapshot, isn't it, of how we talk about feelings day to day.
Yeah.
And it introduces some really basic, fundamental words very naturally.
Okay.
Okay, so it kicks off with Emma. She notices something's maybe not quite right with Tom. She asks, "Hey, are you okay? You look a bit down."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Tom replies, "Yeah, I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed with everything going on."
Okay, so right there, 2 lines, and we get down and overwhelmed. Super common words.
So common. And such a typical way to start, isn't it, when you sense someone's just not their usual self?
It really is. So let's unpack down first.
Yeah.
The resource explains it as, feeling a little sad, maybe not in a great mood.
Right. But it's important to point out it's not like deep sadness or despair.
No, definitely not. It's milder. More like a dip from your usual state. Maybe lacking a bit of energy.
Yeah, temporary dip in spirits. It's definitely on the lighter end of the sadness spectrum.
Mm-hmm. And the example sentence they give is, she's been feeling down since she failed the test.
That gives a really clear context, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A relatable reason for feeling that way.
Exactly. So, thinking about your own experiences, listener, have you felt down? Maybe after some small disappointment or just a long day, sometimes for no obvious reason even.
Right.
How would you describe a time like that? Connecting it personally really helps it stick,
It really does. When you link a word to an actual memory,
Yeah.
a personal feeling, it becomes so much more than just something you read.
Yeah, you own it then. You can actually use it.
Okay, so next up in their chat, Tom says he feels overwhelmed. What's that telling us?
Right, overwhelmed. Well, that describes that feeling of having just too much going on, Too many tasks, too many demands hitting you at once.
Like your brain is just full.
Exactly. It's that sense of being overloaded. You might feel stressed, maybe anxious, kind of stuck even. Like you just can't cope with it all.
Yeah, struggling with the sheer volume of things. The example is, I felt overwhelmed by all the work I had to do. I think pretty much everyone can relate to that feeling, unfortunately.
Oh, for sure. That mountain of tasks, not knowing where to even start.
So, listener, can you think of a time you felt overwhelmed? What was going on? Was it work, personal stuff? Could be anything, really.
Absolutely. The common thread is just being overloaded beyond what you can comfortably handle.
Mm-hmm.
And notice Tom says, I'm feeling overwhelmed, using feel plus the adjective.
Ah, that feel plus adjective structure. So common. I feel happy. I feel tired.
I feel anxious. I feel excited.
Yeah.
Yep, super useful pattern.
Okay, so moving on. Emma shows she gets it. She says, I get that. I was really anxious before my last exam. But don't worry, you've got this.
Okay, so now we have anxious.
Yes. What exactly is anxious telling us here?
Well, anxious is that really strong feeling of worry, maybe nervousness. And like Emma says, it often crops up before something important or uncertain, like an exam.
Exactly. Exams, job interviews, maybe giving a presentation.
Yeah.
That feeling of unease, apprehension about what's coming.
Mm-hmm. That fluttery stomach feeling sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Or restlessness, maybe trouble sleeping. Think about those triggers, listener. What makes you feel anxious? Public speaking? Maybe traveling alone?
It's interesting because it feels, well, often more intense than just worry, doesn't it? Maybe more persistent.
Yeah, I think so. And it can show up physically, too, like you said.
Right.
The fluttery stomach, maybe your heart races a bit, sweaty palms.
Right. Have you noticed those signs in yourself when you're anxious? It's quite common.
Definitely felt those. Okay, so Tom then replies, he's trying to sort of pull himself together a bit. He says, "Thanks. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's been tough lately."
Ah, okay. Two more really useful words there. Positive and tough. Let's break those down.
What's he getting out with positive first?
Okay, so positive here means trying to keep a hopeful outlook, right? Trying to see the good side, even when things are difficult. It suggests resilience, optimism.
Sometimes it's a real conscious effort, isn't it? Actively choosing to focus on the potential good, not just the problems.
Exactly. Do you know people who are just naturally positive? They always seem to look on the bright side.
Yeah, some people just have that knack. It's a great quality.
It is. But as Tom says, sometimes you have to try to stay positive. It takes effort.
Which brings us to the next word he uses, tough.
Right. And the fact he says he's trying to be positive really underlines that it's not automatic, especially when things are, well, tough.
So tough just means difficult, challenging.
Pretty much, yeah. When he says it's been tough lately, he's basically signaling that he's going through a hard time. Things haven't been easy. It's quite a general way to say it.
It is. And that phrase, "it's been tough lately," you hear it a lot. It lets you communicate you're struggling without maybe going into all the details if you don't want to.
Exactly. A bit of privacy while still getting the message across. So, listener, have you had a tough week recently? It's a universal thing, and we often use this kind of general language.
And then finally, in this little exchange, Emma offers support. She says, "Let's grab some coffee and talk it out. You'll feel better."
Which is lovely, isn't it? Simple but powerful, offering comfort, connection.
Yeah, and it really highlights subtly how important talking is. Having that social support when you're dealing with difficult feelings.
So true. Just getting it out can make a difference.
Okay, so just from that short back and forth between Emma and Tom, we've pulled out 5 really key emotion words: down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, and tough.
Yeah. And we saw them used really naturally just in everyday chat, which is so important for learning, isn't it? Not just knowing the definition from a dictionary.
Absolutely not. You need to get a feel for how they actually work in real time, how they sound, how people use them.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so the source material then moves on. It introduces another set of 5 emotion words, equally important, just as common.
Right. Let's get into those. The first one in this second batch is excited.
Excited. Usually a nice feeling.
Yes. So what does it mean to be excited?
It's that sort of happy, energetic feeling, isn't it? When you're really looking forward to something good happening. Anticipation.
Yeah, anticipation, enthusiasm, maybe a feeling of joy. Enthusiasm captures that energy well. The example sentence is great, simple. I'm so excited about the trip.
You can almost hear the energy in that, can't you?
Totally. So listener, what are you excited about right now? An upcoming holiday? A new project maybe? Seeing friends or family?
Yeah, it's definitely a forward-looking emotion, usually tied to something pleasant. Can range from just mild interest to real buzz.
Okay. Next up, frustrated.
Ah, yes. Another one most of us know pretty well.
Sadly, yes. So what does feeling frustrated mean?
Well, frustrated is when you feel annoyed, maybe upset, possibly a bit angry, because something just isn't working out the way you want it to.
Like you're hitting roadblocks.
Exactly. Or you can't achieve your goal. There's often that feeling of being stuck or helpless, maybe a lack of control.
Yeah, like banging your head against a wall sometimes.
The example given is, I felt frustrated when the app kept crashing. Oh my goodness, yes.
Anyone who uses technology has felt that exact frustration.
Tell me about it. So listener, what else makes you feel frustrated? Slow internet, traffic jams, trying to learn something new and just not getting it.
Oh yeah, lots of possibilities. It's that feeling of being blocked, right?
Yeah.
Unable to move forward despite trying.
Yeah. And it can be a surprisingly intense frustration. Okay, third word in this set. Relieved.
Now this is often a wonderful feeling.
It usually is. It often comes after stress or worry. So relieved. What's the core meaning?
Well, it's that feeling of comfort, isn't it? Ease. Maybe a sense of lightness that washes over you when the stress or worry or difficulty finally ends.
Like a weight's been lifted.
Exactly. You can finally sort of exhale. The example, I was so relieved after I passed the test. You can just picture that tension dissolving.
Yeah, the worry stops, and maybe there's a sense of accomplishment, too. Listener, can you remember a time you felt truly relieved? What was the situation?
It often follows that period of uncertainty or pressure which makes the relief feel even stronger, more noticeable.
Definitely a welcome feeling when it arrives.
Very much so.
Okay.
The next one. Embarrassed.
Oh, the awkward one. This is quite a social emotion, isn't it?
Yeah, tied to how we think other people see us. So what's it mean to be embarrassed?
It means feeling awkward, self-conscious, maybe a bit foolish, usually because of something you said or did.
Something you perceive as silly, maybe inappropriate,
Right.
or just drew unwanted attention.
Right. That feeling of being exposed, or like you've made a social mistake, a faux pas. The example is he was embarrassed when he forgot the teacher's name. Oh, dear.
We've all been there, haven't we? In some similar situation.
Uh-huh. That sudden hot feeling in your face, wishing you could disappear.
Yes. So, listener, think of a mildly embarrassing moment. It's a very human feeling.
It really is. And it can range from just a slight blush to, wanting the ground to swallow you whole. Context matters a lot too, doesn't it?
True. What's awkward in one setting might be mortifying in another. It often links back to social norms and wanting to fit in.
Exactly. Okay. And the final word in this second set, grateful.
Ah, this is a really positive and I think important one.
Absolutely. So being grateful, what's that about?
It means feeling thankful, appreciative, usually for something positive that's happened or that you have.
Right. Maybe someone gave you a gift or showed you kindness, helped you out, or maybe you're just acknowledging the good things in your life generally.
Yeah, recognizing and valuing what you have or what others have done. The example sentence, "I'm grateful for your help with my project," clearly shows it directed towards someone for their actions.
Mm-hmm. So, listener, what are you currently grateful for? Big things, small things. Taking a moment to actually think about that, it can really boost your mood.
You know, it really can. It's an emotion that builds positivity, strengthens connections.
And contributes to just general well-being, shifting focus from maybe what you lack to what you have.
Exactly. So, okay, quick recap. We've now looked at 10 key emotion words.
Mm-hmm.
Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, tough.
Mm-hmm. Then excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, and grateful.
Right. And as we've kind of talked about, each one has its own specific flavor, its own nuance.
And that nuance is so important for communicating clearly, isn't it?
Vital. Choosing the right word means you can be precise about your feelings and other people can actually understand you better.
Exactly. Cuts down on misunderstandings.
Because just saying, "I feel bad," it's so vague.
Totally useless, really. It doesn't tell anyone anything specific. But saying, I feel frustrated or I feel down, well, they mean very different things.
And they invite different responses, different kinds of support, maybe.
Precisely. And our source material actually helps reinforce this. They have this section, an audio review section.
Yes. Which basically pairs up short descriptive phrases with the emotion word we've just been discussing.
Yeah, it's a great way to hear that connection, isn't it? Between a little description of a feeling and the specific single word. Helps lock it in.
Definitely does. Okay, let's quickly run through these pairings then as they present them. First descriptive phrase, a little sad.
And that links directly to down, yeah. The example sentence they add is, she looked down after the meeting.
You can almost picture that, can't you? That subtle visual cue, lowered eyes maybe, posture.
Mm-hmm. Paints a little picture. Okay, next phrase. Too much to handle.
That clearly links to overwhelmed.
Yep, and the example. He felt overwhelmed by the responsibilities. Again, captures that feeling of being burdened.
Right. Then we have nervous or worried.
Which corresponds to anxious. Example, she gets anxious before public speaking. Very common trigger, like we said.
Following that, trying to see the good side.
That matches up neatly with positive. Example, even in bad times, he stays positive. Really highlights that effort, that resilience.
Next, difficult or challenging.
Clearly points to tough. Example, it's been a tough week at work. Short, sweet, everyone knows what that means.
Okay, moving to the happier one sometimes. Very happy and looking forward to something.
That's a great description for excited. Example, I'm excited about the weekend trip. You feel that buzz.
Then, been upset because of problems or delays. Oh, we know this one.
That's definitely frustrated. Example, I felt frustrated waiting in traffic. The classic modern frustration.
So true. Okay, feeling better after stress ends.
Ah, that lovely feeling. That's relieved. Example, I was relieved when the power came back on. Small thing maybe, but a big relief.
Definitely. Then, feeling awkward or shy.
That lines up with being embarrassed. Example, I was so embarrassed when I tripped. That momentary awkwardness, feeling foolish.
Yep. And finally, feeling thankful.
Corresponds perfectly to grateful. Example, I'm grateful for all your support. clear expression of things.
What's really valuable about this review section, I think, is how it takes these internal feelings, which can be a bit abstract,
Hmm.
and anchors them in these really relatable everyday situations and these little concrete phrases.
Absolutely. And it also shows how these main emotion words connect to slightly longer ways of describing things, right?
Yeah, like instead of just saying I'm anxious, you could say I'm feeling nervous or worried.
Yeah.
Gives you more options.
Exactly. A richer way to express yourself. It's a good reminder that learning language isn't just about single words in isolation,
Not at all. It's about building connections, connecting the word to its meaning, yes.
but also connecting it to situations and ultimately connecting it to your own feelings and experiences.
Precisely. And those simple phrases from the review, they can be like little building blocks too.
How do you mean?
Well, you can take a phrase like a little sad and then just add the why. I'm
Mm.
feeling a little sad because my friend moved away.
Ah, right. It gives you a starting point for adding more detail, explaining the cause.
Exactly. A launch pad for more detailed communication about how you're feeling.
Nice way to put it.
Okay. So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive on expressing emotions in English, what are the really crucial takeaways for you? What should listeners hold on to?
Well, fundamentally, I think it's just recognizing and really understanding this core vocabulary we've covered, these 10 words.
Yeah, down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, tough, excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, grateful, naturally.
Okay, so the exchange begins. Emma notices something's maybe a bit off with Tom. She asks, "Hey, are you okay? You look a bit down."
Right. And Tom responds, yeah, I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed with everything going on. And just like that, in 2 short lines, we get 2 very common emotion words, down and overwhelmed.
Yeah. It's such a typical way to start that kind of chat, isn't it? When you sense someone isn't quite themselves. Okay, let's start with down. Our resource explains that feeling down, well, it means you're a little sad, perhaps not in a great mood.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like deep, profound sadness. It's more of uh, lower energy state, maybe, a dip from how you usually feel.
Dip. Yeah, that's a good word.
You might feel a bit low or maybe lacking your usual enthusiasm. And it's interesting, recognizing this milder form of sadness can actually be helpful.
How so?
Well, sometimes just acknowledging, okay, I feel a bit down, can prompt you to take small actions.
Hmm.
Maybe listen to some music, go for a walk before it potentially becomes something more intense.
That's a really good point. It's definitely on the milder end of the sadness spectrum. And the example sentence they give is, she's been feeling down since she failed the test. That makes total sense. It gives a clear context, doesn't it? A trigger that could easily lead to feeling that way.
Exactly. Now, thinking about your own experiences, listener, have you ever felt down? Maybe after a minor setback or just a long, tiring day. Sometimes it can even happen without a clear reason, right?
Oh, definitely.
How would you describe a time you felt that way? Connecting these words to your own memories, it really helps solidify their meaning.
Yeah.
Makes them easier to recall and actually use later.
Absolutely. When you link a word to a personal experience, it just clicks, doesn't it? It transforms from just a definition into something you truly understand and can use in your own conversations.
Precisely. Okay, so next up in the chat, Tom says he's feeling overwhelmed. What does that tell us about his emotional state?
Overwhelmed. Yeah, that describes that sensation of just having too much happening at once, too many responsibilities, maybe too much information coming in. It's
Yep.
like your mind feels completely full.
Yes, overloaded.
Yeah, overloaded. Makes it difficult to process everything.
Yes. It's that feeling of being loaded beyond your capacity to easily handle things. And often, it's accompanied by feelings of stress or maybe anxiety, sometimes even a sense of being stuck, like you can't move forward.
Yeah, like you just can't cope with the sheer volume of things demanding your attention.
And, it's interesting to think about how common this feeling is becoming. In our modern, fast-paced world, constant connectivity, information overload,
Tell me about it.
being able to actually say, I feel overwhelmed, is getting more important, I think, for our well-being. It lets us communicate we need support or maybe need to set some boundaries.
That's true. The example sentence is, I felt overwhelmed by all the work I had to do. I think pretty much everyone can relate to that one at some point.
Unfortunately, yes. That
Oh.
feeling of facing this huge mountain of tasks and just not knowing where to even begin. So, listener, can you recall a time you felt overwhelmed? What were the circumstances? Was it work or personal stuff or something else?
Yeah, it can stem from so many different parts of life, can it? Like you said,
Yeah,
work
yeah.
deadlines, family things, trying to figure out a complex problem, or even just the sheer amount of news we see every day.
The common thread is that feeling of being overloaded, beyond your comfortable limit. And notice how we often say, I feel overwhelmed, using feel plus the adjective. That feel plus adjective structure is super common for emotions in English. I feel happy, I feel sad, I feel overwhelmed. It's a fundamental pattern, really.
Okay, good point. So, moving through the dialogue, Emma shows she understands Tom. She says, I get that. I was really anxious before my last exam, but don't worry, you've got this.
Ah, okay, so now we have anxious. What does anxious mean here?
Well, anxious is that strong feeling of worry or nervousness. It's often triggered by something coming up, something important or uncertain, like the exam in Emma's example. It's generally more intense, maybe more persistent than just being worried.
Right, exactly. An exam, a job interview, a big presentation. Those are classic anxiety-inducing situations, aren't they?
It's that feeling of unease, apprehension about what's going to happen. Think about those moments, maybe that knot in your stomach, a restless feeling, sometimes even trouble sleeping.
Yeah. Job interviews, public speaking, traveling somewhere new by yourself. These are all pretty common triggers for anxiety. What about you, listener? What sort of things tend to make you feel anxious? It's interesting, too, how culturally maybe some situations are more anxiety-provoking than others.
Oh, that's a good point. Like maybe public speaking is viewed differently in different places.
Could be. But yeah, while worry is definitely part of anxiety, anxious often implies that heightened intensity, the persistence, and it can sometimes feel more physical too.
Yes, it can manifest in physical symptoms, like you mentioned, that fluttery stomach or your heart racing, maybe sweaty palms. Have you ever noticed those physical sensations when you're feeling anxious?
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Okay, so Tom then replies, he's trying to compose himself a bit. He says, thanks, I'm trying to stay positive, but it's been tough lately. Right, two more useful words there. Positive and tough. Let's unpack those. What's he saying with positive and tough?
Okay, so positive here means trying to keep a hopeful outlook, right?
Yeah.
Trying to see the good aspects, even when things are challenging. It's about resilience, maybe optimism.
Exactly. And sometimes it requires a conscious effort, doesn't it? Actively focusing on potential good outcomes rather than just dwelling on the problems. It's a mindset,
Yeah.
and it can really impact how we handle difficulties.
Do you know people who are just naturally positive? Like it just seems effortless for them.
Some people do seem to have that knack, yeah. It's a great quality.
It really is. But as Tom mentioned, sometimes you have to actively try to stay positive. It takes effort, mental discipline, especially when things are, well, tough.
Which leads us right to the next word he uses. Tough. The fact that he says he's trying to be positive kind of underlines that it's not always automatic, especially when things are tough.
So tough just means difficult, challenging.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When Tom says, it's been tough lately, he's basically saying he's been going through a hard time. Facing challenges, things haven't been easy. It's a fairly general way to communicate a sense of hardship.
It is. And that phrase, it's been tough lately, it's incredibly common, isn't it? It lets you signal that you're having difficulties without necessarily needing to spill all the details. It gives you a bit of privacy while still communicating how things are.
Exactly. So, listener, have you had a tough week recently or a tough month? It's a universal experience, really.
Yeah.
And we often rely on this kind of general language to talk about it.
Okay. And finally, in this little exchange, Emma offers support. She says, let's grab some coffee and talk it out. You'll feel better. Which is just a lovely, simple, yet powerful offer, isn't it? Comfort, connection.
Yeah, and it subtly emphasizes how important talking can be. Social support. When we're grappling with difficult emotions, it's so true. Just saying things out loud to someone who cares can make a huge difference.
It really can.
Definitely. Okay, so just from that short conversation between Emma and Tom, we've pulled out 5 crucial emotion words. Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, and tough.
Right.
And as we saw, they were used really naturally within a typical everyday chat.
Which is so valuable for learners, right? It's not enough to just know the dictionary definition.
Absolutely not. You need to get a feel for how these words actually work in real interactions, how they sound, their connotations, how people use them in context.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. All right, so our source material then moves on, introduces another set of 5 equally important and common emotion words. Shall we explore those?
Let's do it. Okay, the first one in the second batch is excited. What does it mean to be excited?
Excited. Well, this is usually a pleasant feeling. It's that happy, energetic sensation you get when you're really looking forward to something great happening. Yeah.
There's often a sense of anticipation, maybe heightened energy.
Yeah. Anticipation, enthusiasm, maybe a feeling of joy. It often involves picturing that positive event you're looking forward to.
Yes, enthusiasm is a perfect word for it. And the example sentence they give is simple and spot on. I'm so excited about the trip. You can almost feel the positive energy in that, can't you?
You really can. So, listener, what are you excited about right now? Maybe an upcoming holiday, a new project you're starting, seeing friends or family you haven't seen in ages.
It's definitely a forward-looking emotion, usually tied to something pleasant. And it can range, can it? From just a mild sense of anticipation to like genuine exhilaration. Depends on the event and maybe your personality too.
True. Okay, next up, frustrated. I think this is another one most of us can relate to quite easily,
Right.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So what does it mean to feel frustrated?
Well, frustrated is when you're feeling annoyed, maybe upset, even a bit angry sometimes, usually because something isn't working the way you want it to. Or you're hitting obstacles that stop you from reaching your goal. There's often that sense of being stuck.
Yeah, that feeling of helplessness often comes with it, doesn't it? Or lack of control, like you're banging your head against a wall.
Totally. The example given is I felt frustrated when the app kept crashing.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Anyone who uses technology knows that feeling.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So, listener, what else makes you feel frustrated? Dealing with, I don't know, slow internet, misunderstandings, trying to learn a new skill and just not getting it right away.
Yes, slow internet.
Mm.
That's a classic modern frustration. Misunderstandings in communication, too, they can be incredibly frustrating. And yeah, trying to learn something new and feeling blocked. It's that sense of being impeded, right? Unable to make progress despite trying. It can be surprisingly intense sometimes.
It really can. Okay, the third word in this set is relieved. Now, this is often a wonderfully welcome feeling.
Oh, yes. It usually comes after a period of stress or anxiety has finally ended.
Yes, relieved. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's precisely that feeling of comfort, maybe ease, a sense of lightness that kind of washes over you after stress or worry or difficulty is over. It's like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders.
Yes, exactly. You can finally breathe out again. The example is, I was so relieved after I passed the test. You can just imagine that tension melting away.
Yeah, it's that combination, isn't it?
Awesome.
Accomplishment plus the end of the worry. Listener, can you remember a time you felt truly relieved? What was the situation? This emotion often feels particularly strong after a period of uncertainty or pressure, doesn't it? Makes the relief even more noticeable, more appreciated.
Very much so. Definitely a welcome emotion. Okay, next one. Embarrassed.
This is often a social emotion, isn't it? Tied to how we think others see us.
That's right. So what does it mean to be embarrassed? It means feeling awkward, maybe self-conscious, even a little foolish, usually because of something you said or did.
Something you think was maybe silly or inappropriate or just drew unwanted attention to yourself. It's often tied to social norms, isn't it? And
Yeah.
expectations. Yes, that feeling of being exposed or like you've made some kind of social blunder. The example is he was embarrassed when he forgot the teacher's name.
Oh, we've all been there, right?
Uh-huh.
Probably with that sudden heat in your face and the urge to disappear.
Totally.
Think about a mildly embarrassing moment you've had, listener. It's a very common human thing. Can range from just a slight blush to, well, total mortification.
And context is huge, isn't it? What's slightly awkward in one situation might feel much worse in another. It often revolves around our awareness of social rules and wanting to fit in.
True. Okay, finally, in the second set of words, we have grateful. This is a really positive and, I think, important one.
Absolutely. So what does it mean to feel grateful?
Grateful means feeling thankful, showing appreciation, usually for something positive that's happened or something you've received. Could be a physical gift, an act of kindness, help from someone.
Or even just recognizing the good things you have in your life generally.
Right.
It's about acknowledging and valuing what you have or what others have done for you.
The example sentence is, I'm grateful for your help with my project. That clearly shows it's often directed towards someone for their actions.
Yeah. So, listener, what are you currently grateful for? Taking a moment just to consciously think about this can actually have a positive effect on your mood.
You know, it absolutely can. It's an emotion that encourages positivity, strengthens relationships, and it helps your overall well-being by shifting your focus, doesn't it?
Right.
From what you might lack to the good things you already have.
Definitely. So, okay, we've now looked at 10 key emotion words. Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, tough, excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, and grateful. Right. And as we've discussed, each one carries its own specific nuance, its own connotation. And getting that nuance right is really vital for communicating effectively.
Exactly. Using the right word avoids misunderstandings. Just saying I feel bad is so vague.
Totally. It doesn't really tell anyone anything useful, does it?
Mm,
But saying, I feel frustrated or I feel down communicates very different things. And it probably invites different kinds of responses too.
precisely. And our source material actually goes a step further to help really solidify this learning. They include what they call an audio review section,
Ah,
which basically pairs short descriptive phrases with the emotion words we've just been talking about.
yes, that's a really effective way to reinforce the connection, isn't it? Between a brief description of a feeling and the specific vocabulary word. Hearing them linked like that helps lock that association in your mind.
Definitely. Okay, let's go through these pairings then. The first descriptive phrase is a little sad, and that directly corresponds to
Down.
yeah.
Yes. And the example sentence in this review part is, she looked down after the meeting. You can almost picture that, can't you? That slight physical sign of feeling low, maybe lowered eyes, slumped shoulders.
Exactly. It paints a small but telling picture. Okay, next, the phrase too much to handle naturally connects to.
Overwhelmed. Indeed. The example, he felt overwhelmed by the responsibilities. Again, it captures that sense of being burdened, struggling to cope.
Right. Then we have nervous or worried, which directly aligns with.
Anxious. The example sentence is, she gets anxious before public speaking. A very common trigger, as we discussed.
Following that, trying to see the good side neatly matches.
Positive. And the example, even in bad times, he stays positive, really highlights that effort and resilience we talked about earlier, that conscious choice sometimes.
Yeah. Next up, difficult or challenging clearly points to.
Tough. The example, it's been a tough week at work. Concise, widely understood way to say things have been hard.
Okay, moving on to some more positive ones now. Very happy and looking forward to something is a great description of.
Excited. Example, I'm excited about the weekend trip. You can almost feel that buzz of anticipation and joy.
Definitely. Okay. Been upset because of problems or delays, a feeling we all know is best described as.
Frustrated. And the example, I felt frustrated waiting in traffic. Oh yes, the classic modern frustration, being stuck, unable to move. So true.
So true. Next, feeling better after stress ends. A perfect and concise way to describe being.
Relieved. Example, I was relieved when the power came back on. Maybe a small thing, but a definite source of relief when it's fixed.
Definitely. And then we have feeling awkward or shy, which aligns with being.
Embarrassed.
Yeah.
Example, I was so embarrassed when I tripped. That momentary loss of composure, the self-consciousness that follows.
Finally, the phrase feeling thankful corresponds perfectly to.
Grateful. In the example, I'm grateful for all your support.
Yeah.
A clear, direct expression of thanks for help.
You know, what's particularly valuable about this audio review section, I think, is how it takes these often abstract internal feelings and grounds them in very relatable everyday situations and these concise, descriptive phrases.
Absolutely. It also beautifully shows how these core emotion words connect to slightly longer descriptions you might use. Like instead of just saying, I'm anxious, you could elaborate, right? You could say, I feel nervous or worried. It gives you more options, a richer way to express yourself.
Exactly. A broader palette of language to work with. And it's such an important reminder that learning a language isn't just about, memorizing single words by rote.
Not at all. It's about building connections.
Yeah.
Connecting a word not just to its direct meaning,
Yes.
but also to the situations where it's typically used. And ultimately connecting it to your own feelings and experiences.
Yeah.
That's where the real learning happens.
Precisely. And those simple phrases from the audio review, they can also serve as building blocks, can't they?
What do you mean by that?
Well, you can take a phrase like a little sad
Okay.
and then easily add the reason why you're feeling that way. Like, I'm feeling a little sad because my friend moved away.
Ah, right. It gives you a foundation, a starting point to build on with more details.
Exactly. It acts as a sort of launch pad for more comprehensive communication about your emotions.
That's a great way to think about it. Okay, so we've covered those 10 key emotion words and seen them in context. Really useful stuff.
Definitely. Now, the source material we're using doesn't stop there. It shifts gears a bit and moves into describing personalities.
Ah, okay. using adjectives to talk about what people are like.
Exactly. And they use a kind of fun scenario to introduce this vocabulary. It involves language students discussing their results from a, well, maybe not entirely scientific, personality test they took online.
Right, those online quizzes. Always interesting to see what they come up with. So what happens?
Well, the scenario starts with these students reading out their results, and they have quite different reactions. One student is pretty skeptical about their results, while the other is quite enthusiastic.
Okay, contrasting reactions. That sets up an interesting comparison. So what adjectives did the skeptical student get?
Okay, this student's results included adventurous, outgoing, easygoing, superstitious, occasionally naive, open-minded, having great ambition, but also reckless and clumsy.
Wow, okay. That's quite a mix. Adventurous, outgoing, open-minded sound pretty good. Easygoing, too. But then superstitious, naive, reckless, clumsy. I can see why they might be skeptical. It's a bit contradictory, isn't it? Ambitious but reckless. Outgoing but clumsy.
Exactly. It's a real mixed bag, and some of those terms definitely lean towards the negative or at least potentially problematic, like naive or reckless. You probably wouldn't choose those to describe yourself.
No, probably not. So that explains the skepticism. What about the enthusiastic student? What adjectives did they get?
Their list was extroverted, well-balanced, generous, outspoken, magnanimous, eloquent, and daring.
Ah, okay. That list sounds much more consistently positive, doesn't it? Extroverted, generous, eloquent, daring. These are generally seen as desirable traits. Well-balanced sounds great, too.
Yes, so it makes sense that the student was much happier with their results. And these different reactions, they really highlight something important, don't they? How subjective these labels can be.
Totally. And how our own self-perception influences whether we accept or reject them. Someone might see outspoken as positive, honest, and direct, while someone else might see it as negative, maybe tactless or overly blunt.
That's a great example. It really depends on perspective. Okay, so let's maybe dig into some of these adjectives in more detail, particularly the ones that might be less familiar or have trickier connotations. Starting with the skeptical students list.
Sounds good. Where should we begin? Maybe outgoing. It was on the
Yeah.
first list.
Okay, outgoing. What does that mean? Generally, it describes someone who is comfortable talking to strangers, enjoys social situations, friendly, easy to talk to.
Right. The opposite might be shy or introverted. An outgoing person is often the one striking up conversations at parties or easily making new friends. The example sentence could be something like, "My brother is very outgoing. He talks to everyone he meets."
Yeah, that fits. Okay, what about superstitious? That was another one on the skeptical list.
Ah, superstitious. This means believing that certain actions or events can bring good or bad luck, but without any logical reason.
Right, like believing walking under a ladder is bad luck or opening an umbrella indoors.
Exactly. Or maybe carrying a lucky charm.
Yeah.
It's often quite cultural or personal, isn't it? What's considered a superstition varies a lot. Do you have any little superstitions, listener? Many people do, even if they don't fully believe them.
It's true. Okay, next one. Naive. This one can be a bit tricky.
It can. Naive means tending to believe what you're told too easily, accepting things at face value without much critical thinking. It often implies a lack of experience or wisdom about the world.
Yeah, like being too trusting, maybe easily fooled. The example given might be something like, he was naive enough to believe it was actually raining frogs. A bit of an extreme example, maybe.
Huh. Yes, a bit extreme. But it highlights that lack of critical assessment. You have to be careful using this word to describe someone, though. The tone and context matter a lot. It can sound quite judgmental.
Definitely. Okay, what about reckless? That sounds quite negative.
It generally is. Reckless means acting without thinking about the consequences, often in a way that's dangerous to yourself or others. It implies a disregard for risk.
So not just taking a calculated risk, but being careless about danger. Like driving too fast without a seatbelt could be described as reckless.
Exactly. It emphasizes the lack of thought about potential harm.
Got it. And the last one from that potentially negative group was clumsy.
Yeah, clumsy.
Yeah.
This just means prone to accidentally falling, hitting things, or dropping things. Physically uncoordinated sometimes.
Right. We sometimes use the informal term butterfingers for someone who drops things often.
Yep. Being clumsy is usually seen as a bit awkward, but it's generally not a harsh insult, more of a minor, sometimes endearing flaw.
Okay, that covers the more ambiguous or negative ones from the first list. Now let's look at some of the more positive adjectives from the second enthusiastic students list.
All right. They got extroverted. How does that compare to outgoing?
They're very similar, often used interchangeably, really. Extroverted describes someone who enjoys social situations, feels energized by being around people. It's often contrasted with introverted.
Right. Introverts tend to prefer quieter settings and might feel drained by too much social interaction. They often recharge by spending time alone. Extroverts gain energy from being with others.
Exactly. Okay, another one from the positive list in the source material, though not explicitly in the enthusiastic students' results, is diligent. What's diligent?
Diligent is a really positive word, especially in a work or study context. It means being careful, thorough, conscientious in your work, paying attention to detail, meeting deadlines.
So, someone reliable, hardworking in a careful way. Teachers and bosses usually appreciate diligent students or employees.
Absolutely. It implies a strong work ethic and a commitment to doing things well.
Mm.
Okay, what about magnanimous? That sounds quite grand.
It does. Magnanimous means being very generous and unselfish, especially towards a rival or someone less powerful than oneself, acting for the benefit of others, often in a forgiving or noble way.
So it implies big-heartedness, maybe altruism, an example. Maybe, despite the criticism, the leader made a magnanimous gesture towards their opponents. Or perhaps donating a large sum to help victims of an earthquake could be seen as magnanimous.
Yes, that fits. It suggests acting above petty concerns. Okay, how about eloquent?
Eloquent. This describes someone who is a good speaker or writer, someone who uses language effectively and persuasively. They express themselves clearly and gracefully.
So it's not just about having a big vocabulary, but about the impact of your words, how well you communicate your ideas.
Precisely. An eloquent speaker can be very convincing and engaging.
Got it. And the last one from that positive list was daring.
Daring. This means willing to take bold risks. It can be seen as positive, like taking a smart risk in business.
Or negative.
Exactly, or negative if the risk is foolish or reckless. So context is important again. Someone who goes skydiving might be described as daring.
Right. It implies courage and a willingness to face danger or challenge. Okay, so we've looked at quite a few personality adjectives now, both positive and potentially negative. How can knowing these words be practically useful for language learners?
Well, one very common situation is job interviews, isn't it? You often get asked questions like, describe yourself in 3 adjectives, or maybe, what's your biggest weakness?
Ah, good point. Knowing a range of these words helps you answer those questions more thoughtfully. Though you probably wouldn't want to describe your weakness as being superstitious or naive.
Huh, definitely not. You'd want to choose carefully, maybe pick a minor weakness and show how you're working on it. But knowing words like diligent, outgoing, open-minded, or even admitting to being a bit clumsy, if it's true and harmless, can be very useful.
True. And the source material mentioned some homework the students were given.
Yes, they were asked to find one adjective from the lists, or another one that they felt truly described themselves, and to think about why.
That's a great exercise for self-reflection and vocabulary practice. Maybe you, listener, could try that too. Pick an adjective that resonates with you and think about specific examples from your life that illustrate it.
Good idea. Now, the conversation in the source material then shifted slightly, didn't it?
Hmm.
To describing maybe more difficult personalities.
Yes, they use the example of the type A personality. What did the source say characterizes a type A personality?
Well, according to the description, it can mean being maybe too extroverted, too hardworking, but in a very serious, maybe anxious way. Always busy, needing to be in control.
Okay.
Often not very easygoing, perhaps not great listeners, sometimes insisting on having things their own way.
Right. So it highlights how even traits that seem positive, like being hardworking or extroverted, can become problematic if they're extreme or unbalanced. It's about intensity and rigidity, maybe.
Exactly, the too much aspect. Okay, and just like with the emotion words, the source material included a review section for these personality adjectives as well, didn't it?
It did. Again, reinforcing the vocabulary through definitions and example sentences, and importantly, highlighting some contrasts.
Yeah, like distinguishing naive from just being ignorant. Naive implies a lack of wisdom or experience, while ignorant just means not knowing something.
Good distinction.
Or contrasting reckless with merely careless. Reckless implies a disregard for serious danger, while careless might just mean not paying attention to details, like making typos.
Right. And the review revisited words like open-minded, willing to consider new ideas, superstitious, believing in luck without logic, clumsy, physically awkward, eloquent, speaking well, and extrovert, energized by social contact.
Seeing the words again in slightly different contexts or with these contrasts really helps solidify understanding, doesn't it? It's not just about the first encounter with the word.
Absolutely. Repetition and seeing nuances are key. Okay, so that covers emotions and personality descriptions. Where does the source material take us next?
It shifts to another very practical, everyday topic, discussing daily routines in English.
Ah, okay. This seems fundamental for basic communication, right? Talking about what you do every day.
Exactly. It builds on basic conversation skills and typically uses the simple present tense, which is a core grammatical structure.
And why is it valuable to be able to discuss daily routines apart from just basic chat?
Well, it helps you understand people's basic habits and lifestyles. It can offer cultural insights, like when people typically eat meals or start work in different places. And it just builds a foundation for more complex conversations about your life.
Makes sense. So how does the source introduce this?
It uses another dialogue, this time between Liam and Maya, talking about the typical days.
Okay, let's look at Maya's description of her routine first. What does she say?
She says she usually wakes up at 7:00, takes a quick shower, and then has breakfast.
Okay, so we've got key verbs there. Wake up, take a shower, have breakfast, and note the word usually, indicating frequency, and quick shower adds a little detail.
Precisely. Then she mentions working from home. She starts work at 9:30, has lunch around 1 p.m., and finishes around 5:30.
Right. More key verbs. Start work, have lunch, finish work. And notice the prepositions of time, at for a specific time and around for an approximate time. Very common.
Very common. Finally, she says in the evening she sometimes goes for a walk or watches a movie, and she tries to go to bed by 10:30.
Okay, so go for a walk, watch a movie, go to bed. And again, adverbs are phrases indicating frequency or intention, sometimes, and try to.
Exactly. So that short description gives us a great set of common verbs and time expressions used for routines. Let's zoom in on some of those key action verbs.
Okay, first one, wake up.
Simple enough. I wake up at 7 a.m. It's interesting how wake-up times can vary culturally or based on jobs, right?
Definitely. Next, take a shower.
She takes a shower every morning. Note that take a shower is a very common collocation in English. And for he or she, we need the F's on the verb takes.
Got it. Then have breakfast.
He has breakfast at 8. Again, third-person singular changes have to has, and breakfast itself varies hugely around the world, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, start work and finish work.
Essential phrases. I start work at 9. I finish work at 5. Key for talking about your work schedule.
Makes sense. Take a break.
I take a break around noon. Acknowledges pauses in the day. Again, timing can be flexible around noon, and break culture varies too.
True. Go for a walk.
I go for a walk in the evening. Nice phrasal verb, often suggesting leisure or exercise.
Watch a movie.
We watch movies on weekends. Here, the example shifts the time frame slightly to weekends, showing routines can apply to different periods.
Good point. And finally, go to bed.
I go to bed at 10:00. Another common phrasal verb. Bedtimes vary hugely individually and culturally too.
Okay, so those are the core verbs. What about the time expressions used with routines?
Right. We saw some prepositions like at and around, but also common phrases referring to parts of the day, like in the morning,
Example, I brush my teeth in the morning.
or at noon, or like Maya said, around 1 p.m. for lunchtime.
I eat lunch around 1 then.
In the afternoon. I take a break in the afternoon.
In the evening. I relax in the evening.
And at night, go to bed at night. Using these correctly makes your descriptions sound much more natural.
Okay. And we also noticed those words Maya used like usually and sometimes.
Yes. Adverbs of frequency. They add important nuance about how often you do something. Usually implies most of the time.
I usually wake up at 7.
Sometimes means, well, occasionally, not always.
I sometimes go to the gym.
Always means every time. 100%.
I always drink coffee. Maybe not true for everyone.
Maybe not. Never means 0% of the time.
I never skip breakfast.
And Maya also used try to. I try to sleep early. This shows intention, not necessarily a fixed habit.
Right. So combining the verbs, time expressions, and these adverbs of frequency gives you a really good toolkit for describing your routine.
Exactly. And the grammatical structure underpinning all this is the simple present tense.
Okay, can you quickly remind us how that works for routines?
Sure. For I, you, we, and they, you just use the base form of the verb.
Examples. I wake up early, you take a shower, we have breakfast, they start work. Easy enough.
Yep. The main thing to remember is for he, she, and it, you add an S, or sometimes E's, to the end of the base verb.
Right. Examples. He starts work at 9:00, she eats lunch at 1 minute.
That little s is really important for sounding accurate. And sounding natural often involves combining the simple present tense with the time phrases and frequency adverbs we talked about.
Like, I usually wake up at 7, or she always has dinner at 8. Okay.
Precisely. Those combinations make it sound like real fluent English.
Okay. And the source material included a quick quiz to check understanding of the simple present verb forms, right?
It did. Want to run through it?
Yeah, let's do it quickly. First one. I wake up at 7 a.m. The verb should be.
Wake. Base form for I.
Right. She, take a shower before work, should be.
Takes. Add enesis for she.
We have lunch around 1, should be.
Have. Base form for we.
They, go for a walk every evening, should be.
Go. Base form for they.
And finally, he, go to bed at 11. This one's slightly different.
Ah, yes. For verbs ending in O, like go, you add es for hayshite. So it's goes to bed.
Got it. Good reminder. Okay, so to sum up talking about daily routines, master those common verbs, use the right time expressions and frequency adverbs, and get that simple present tense right, especially the S for he, she in it.
Do all that, and you'll feel much more equipped to understand when people talk about their routines and to share your own.
Definitely. Okay, we've covered emotions, personalities, and daily routines. There's one more major practical area the source material dives into.
And what's that?
Ordering food in English. Another really common everyday situation where knowing the right language can make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Can be a bit nerve-wracking if you're not sure what to say, but it's essential if you're traveling or living in an English-speaking environment. And there's some politeness nuances too, aren't there?
There certainly are. So the source, again, uses a dialogue to set the scene. This time it's Emma and Liam at an Olive Garden restaurant interacting with a waiter.
Okay, Olive Garden. Got it. How does the interaction start?
The waiter greets them. Hi, welcome to Olive Garden. How many people?
Standard opening question. Gotta know how big the table needs to be.
Yep. And Emma replies simply, just 2, please.
Nice and clear. Polite with please and just 2 is very natural.
Then the waiter guides them. Right this way. Here are your menus. Practical steps. Then offers drinks. Can I get you started with something to drink?
That's very common phrasing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can I get you started with? A friendly, invitational way to ask if they want drinks first.
Exactly. And Emma orders, yes, I'll have a lemonade. And he'll have an iced tea.
Okay, so she uses I'll have, which is short for I will have. Very common and perfectly fine for ordering drinks or food. And she also orders for Liam using he'll have.
Yeah. Then after they've looked at the menus, the waiter comes back and asks, are you ready to order?
Another standard check-in.
Em replies, yes, I'd like the grilled chicken with rice.
Ah, okay. Notice she uses I'd like,
Yeah.
short for I would like. We should probably talk about the difference between I'll have and I'd like.
Definitely. Let's finish Liam's order first, he says, and I'll have the pasta with tomato sauce, please.
Okay, so he uses I'll have, also polite, especially with the please at the end. So both seem acceptable.
They are, but I'd like is often considered slightly more polite, especially for the main food order. Let's zoom in on the key phrases from that dialogue first, then tackle I'd like versus I want.
Sounds good. So key phrases from the dialogue.
How many people? Basic logistical question from the staff.
Just 2, please.
Simple, polite answer from the customer.
Can I get you started with something to drink? The common drink offer. I'll have. A direct way to state your order for drinks or food.
Are you ready to order? The prompt for the food order.
I'd like. A very polite way to state your food order. As you said, often preferred over just I want.
Yes, we'll come back to that. And he'll have, useful for ordering for someone else at the table.
Okay, so those cover the core interaction. But the source material also expands on phrases for different stages of a restaurant visit, right?
It does, like upon arrival, besides saying, just 2, please, you might say.
Table for 2, please.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe ask for a specific spot. Can we sit by the window? Or if you booked ahead, we have a reservation under your name.
Good ones. Then during ordering, besides I'd like or I'll have, you might ask for advice.
What do you recommend? Always good if you're unsure, or mention dietary needs. I'm allergic to nuts, for example. Crucial information.
Very important. Or ask for more options. Can I see the dessert menu? Or be specific about preparation. I'll have the steak medium rare.
Yes. Knowing how you like your steak cooked is key. Medium rare, medium well done. And then after eating, when it's time to pay.
You'd ask for the check or the bill. Can I get the check, please? Or can I get the bill, please? Both are common.
And if you're with friends, you might need to say, can we split the bill? Meaning divide the cost.
Right. And hopefully at the end, you can say something nice like, "It was delicious, thank you."
Always nice to give positive feedback and thank the staff. Okay, so that covers a lot of useful phrases. Now, let's tackle that "I'd like" versus "I want" issue. Why is "I'd like" generally preferred?
It really comes down to politeness and tone. "I'd like" sounds more like a polite request. "I want" can sound more like a demand, a bit direct, maybe even childish in a service situation.
Right, think about it. "I'd like a coffee, please." Feels softer, more respectful to the server than "I want a coffee."
Exactly. While "I want" isn't grammatically wrong, using "I'd like" just creates a better social tone. It shows consideration. Same for "can I have" or "could I have." Also, very polite ways to ask for things.
So rule of thumb. In restaurants, cafes, shops, when asking for service, lean towards "I'd like, can I have, or could I have?" It just sounds better.
Definitely. Okay, and the source also included some practice, didn't it? A listen and repeat section.
Yes, focusing on pronunciation and getting comfortable saying the key phrases aloud. The phrases included were things like, "Table for two, please."
Can I get a lemonade?
"Then I'd like the chicken salad." Using "then" to add to an order.
Can you have the check, please?
It was delicious. Just hearing and repeating these helps build confidence and muscle memory for speaking.
Absolutely. And there was another quick quiz, wasn't there? Testing some of this restaurant language.
Yep. Let's see if we remember the polite forms. First item. "I want the pasta, please." What's the more polite correction?
"I'd like the pasta, please," using "I'd like."
Good. Next. "Can I see the food item menu?" What kind of menu are they likely asking for after the main course?
The dessert menu. Can I see the dessert menu?
Right. Third. We'd like to action the bill if they want to pay separately.
Split. We'd like to split the bill.
Okay. Fourth. I'll have drink item. Just filling in a typical drink.
Could be anything like, "I'll have the iced tea" from the dialogue. "I'll have" is
Well-
fine for ordering.
True. And last one. "It was really good. Thank you." What's a stronger positive adjective for food?
Delicious. It was delicious. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, and finally, the source material proposed a mini challenge for the learners, didn't it?
Yes, a practical application task. Basically, imagine you're in a restaurant and plan what you would say. Write it down or say it out loud. Use phrases like "I'd like," "Can I get," "I'll have," and maybe plan your dessert too.
Right. They give an example order, something like, "Hi, table for two, please. I'll have the grilled salmon and the lemonade. Can we get some water too? For dessert, I'd like chocolate cake. Thank you."
You sense something's not quite right with someone?
Okay, let's start with down. Our resource explains it as, feeling a little sad, not in a great mood.
Yeah, it suggests something temporary, usually quite mild, like your spirits are just a bit lower than usual.
Right, a dip, maybe. Lacking energy, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's definitely on the milder end of sadness.
Definitely not intense grief or anything like that, more of a passing thing.
And the example sentence that they give is, "She's been feeling down since she failed the test." That makes sense.
Gives a clear cause and effect. Failing the test leads to feeling down. Simple.
Exactly. Now, think about it, listener. Have you felt down recently? Maybe after a long day or a small disappointment.
Sometimes it happens for no obvious reason, too.
True. How would you describe that feeling? Connecting these words to your own life really makes them stick, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It makes it personal, part of your active vocabulary, not just some abstract term.
Totally. Okay, so next, Tom says he feels overwhelmed. That sounds a bit more intense than just down.
It implies being inundated, like the pressures are exceeding your ability to cope. Overloaded.
Yeah, overwhelmed. That feeling of just having way too much going on. Too much on your plate, maybe too much information.
Your brain just feels full. Can lead to stress, anxiety.
Or just feeling stuck. Right, like you can't process it all.
Yeah.
Unable to cope.
Exactly. That inability to cope is key. The example is, "I felt overwhelmed by all the work I had to do."
Oh, yeah. I think we can all relate to that one. That endless to-do list feeling.
Especially these days with constant information, emails, notifications. Feeling overwhelmed is pretty common.
Sadly, yes. That mountain of tasks feeling. So, listener, can you recall a time you felt overwhelmed? Was it work, personal stuff?
It can stem from so many things. Deadlines, family issues, complex problems.
Or just that sheer volume of stuff coming at you. The common thread is feeling overloaded, beyond what you can easily handle.
And notice the structure. I feel overwhelmed. Feel plus the adjective. Super common for emotions.
Right. I feel happy. I feel tired. I feel overwhelmed. Okay, so Emma responds with empathy. She says, "I get that. I was really anxious before my last exam."
Ugh, so anxious. Another key word.
Yeah. What's anxious telling us here? It feels stronger than just worried.
It points to that heightened worry, nervousness, often about something uncertain in the future, like that exam. Unease, apprehension.
Definitely. That strong feeling of worry, maybe nervousness before something important or uncertain, it's that pit in your stomach feeling, isn't it?
Yes, very much future-oriented. The exam hasn't happened, but the thought of it triggers the feeling.
Like before a job interview, a big presentation. You get that fluttery feeling, maybe restless.
Trouble sleeping sometimes even. Public speaking is a big trigger for many.
Oh, totally. What about you, listener? What tends to make you feel anxious?
It's often situations where we feel evaluated or the outcome is uncertain but important.
And it feels more intense than just plain worry, right? More persistent. And it can have physical signs, too.
Definitely. The body reacts, racing heart, maybe sweaty palms. That mind-body connection is strong.
For sure. Okay, so Tom replies, trying to, pull himself together a bit. Thanks. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's been tough lately.
Right. Two more useful words. Positive and tough.
So positive here means trying to keep a hopeful outlook, seeing the good side even when things are hard.
Exactly. It suggests resilience, optimism, a conscious effort sometimes.
It's like actively looking for the silver lining, focusing on potential good outcomes.
Which can be a really powerful coping mechanism, psychologically speaking.
Yeah. Do you know people who are just naturally positive? It's a great quality.
It can be quite infectious, can't it, being around optimistic people?
It really can. But like Tom says, sometimes you have to try to stay positive. It takes effort.
Mm-hmm. Which leads nicely into tough. He says, it's been tough lately.
Yeah, the fact he's trying to be positive shows things aren't easy. So tough just means difficult,
Yeah.
challenging.
Pretty much. He's saying he's going through a hard time, facing difficulties. Things haven't been easy.
It's quite a general way to say it, though. He's not giving specifics.
And that's often the point. The phrase, it's been tough lately, is super common because it signals difficulty without oversharing, maintains privacy.
Right, efficient, acknowledges the struggle generally. Listener, have you had a tough week recently? We all do.
It's a very common experience and expression.
And then Emma offers support,
Let's grab some coffee and talk it out. You'll feel better.
which is lovely, simple, but it highlights the importance of connection, of talking things through.
So true. Social support is massive when dealing with difficult feelings. Just talking can make a huge difference.
Verbalizing feelings often brings clarity, validation. It can be therapeutic.
Definitely. Okay, so just from that short chat, we've got 5 key words. Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, and tough.
And we saw how naturally they fit into a normal conversation. That's crucial for learners.
Yeah, seeing them in action, not just definitions. You need to get a feel for how they actually work in real time.
Develop ear for the language of emotions. Understand the pragmatics, not just the semantics. Couldn't agree more. Okay, so our source then introduces another set of 5 emotion words. Equally important, just as common.
Let's expand our emotional toolkit.
First one is excited. That's usually a good feeling.
Yes, excited usually means happy, energetic anticipation about something positive coming up. Enthusiasm.
Yeah, that happy, energetic buzz when you're really looking forward to something great. A holiday, a party.
Anticipation, joy. It's future-oriented and positive.
The example sentence is simple. I'm so excited about the trip. You can almost hear the energy.
The so really amps it up too. High enthusiasm.
Totally. So listener, what are you excited about right now? A project, seeing someone. It's usually about something pleasant ahead.
Always nice to focus on things we're excited about.
Okay, next. Frustrated. Another one we probably all know too well.
Unfortunately, yes. Frustrated signals that annoyance, dissatisfaction when things aren't working, or you're blocked from a goal.
Yeah, that feeling when you just can't get something to work, hitting roadblocks. It can feel really irritating, maybe even a bit angry.
A sense of helplessness sometimes, lack of control, like banging your head against a wall.
Totally. The example. I felt frustrated when the app kept crashing. Oh my goodness, yes. Tech frustration is real.
A very relatable modern example. It's infuriating.
Tell me about it. So, listener, what else makes you feel frustrated? Slow internet, misunderstandings, trying to learn something difficult.
It's that feeling of being blocked, putting in effort, but getting nowhere.
Yeah, it can be surprisingly intense.
Yeah.
Okay, third in this set, relieved. Now, this is usually a wonderful feeling.
Yes, relieved is that feeling of comfort, ease after stress or worry ends. like a weight lifting.
Exactly. That lightness, being able to relax finally, the tension just melts away.
The metaphor of a weight being lifted is very common, very apt.
You can breathe again? The
Mm.
example. I was so relieved after I passed the test.
You can imagine the anxiety beforehand, then the sudden release. That contrast makes the relief stronger.
Accomplishment plus the end of worry. Listener, can you remember feeling truly relieved? It often follows uncertainty or pressure.
A very welcome emotion indeed.
Very much so. Okay, next one. Embarrassed. This one's quite social, isn't it?
Very much tied to how we think others perceive us. That feeling of awkwardness, self-consciousness.
Yeah, feeling awkward, maybe foolish, because of something you said or did that felt silly or inappropriate, drew unwanted attention.
Feeling exposed, like you made a social blunder.
The example, he was embarrassed when he forgot the teacher's name. Classic. We've all been there.
Oh, yes. That sudden heat in your face, wanting the ground to swallow you.
Totally. Think about a mildly embarrassing moment, listener. It's super common, very human. It can range from a blush to mortification.
And context matters hugely. What's embarrassing in one situation might not be in another. It's about social rules fitting in.
True. Okay, finally in this set. Grateful. A really positive, important one.
Absolutely. Grateful is that feeling of thankfulness, appreciation.
Yeah, for something positive you received, kindness, help, or just recognizing the good things in your life generally. Valuing what you have or what others do.
It's been shown to have a really positive impact on well-being, too. Boosts happiness, strengthens relationships.
The example. I'm grateful for your help with my project. Clearly directed towards someone for their actions.
So, listener, what are you grateful for right now? Taking a moment for that can really lift your mood.
It really can. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. Encourages positivity.
A wonderful emotion to cultivate.
Okay, so that's our second set of 5. Excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, and grateful. That brings us to 10 key words in total.
Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, tough, excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, grateful. A solid foundation.
And each one has its own distinct flavor, its nuance. And getting that nuance right is vital for communicating well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It allows for much more precise expression, helps others understand you better, reduces misunderstandings.
Right. Just saying I feel bad is so vague. What does that even mean?
It doesn't give the other person much to go on. How can they respond helpfully?
Exactly. But saying I feel frustrated or I feel down, those communicate very different things.
And they invite different kinds of responses, maybe practical help for frustration or comfort if you're feeling down. Specificity guides interaction.
Precisely. And our source material actually reinforces this with what they call an audio review section.
Yes. Pairing short descriptive phrases with the emotion words.
Yeah, it's a great way to cement the connection, hear the link between a description and the specific word. Uses your hearing to reinforce it.
Helps with memorization and pronunciation, too, hearing them used like that.
Definitely. Okay, let's quickly run through these pairings from the review. First, a little sad connects to.
Down. Captures that mildness perfectly.
Right, and the example. She looked down after the meeting. You can picture that slight slump, maybe?
Body language often reflects how we feel.
Then, too much to handle links clearly to.
Overwhelmed. A very common way to phrase it.
Yeah. Example. He felt overwhelmed by the responsibilities. That feeling of being burdened.
Next, nervous or worried corresponds to.
Anxious. Example. She gets anxious before public speaking. Very common trigger.
Clarifies the core feeling of anxiety.
Then, trying to see the good side, match it.
Positive. Example. Even in bad times, he stays positive. Highlights that conscious effort.
Right. Difficult or challenging points straight to.
Tough. Example. It's been a tough week at work. Concise, widely understood.
Okay, happier ones? Very happy and looking forward to something. Describe.
Excited. Example. I'm excited about the weekend trip. You feel the buzz.
Then been upset because of problems or delays.
Frustrated. Example. I felt frustrated waiting in traffic. The quintessential modern frustration.
Oh, tell me about it. Next, feeling better after stress ends. That feeling is
Relieved. Example. I was relieved when the power came back on. Even small stresses ending bring relief.
definitely. Feeling awkward or shy aligns with.
Embarrassed. Example. I was so embarrassed when I tripped. That momentary self-consciousness.
And finally, feeling thankful corresponds perfectly to.
Grateful. Example. I'm grateful for all your support. Clear expression of thanks.
What's great about this review is how it anchors these abstract feelings in really relatable situations and phrases. Makes it practical.
Grounding abstract concepts in tangible language and scenarios is very effective for learning.
Absolutely. And it shows how you can express these feelings using slightly longer descriptions.
Right.
It gives you more options than just the single word.
Exactly. It highlights the flexibility. Instead of just, I'm anxious, you might say, I'm feeling a bit nervous or worried about. Adds nuance.
Yeah, a richer palette. It reminds us learning isn't just memorizing words, it's understanding how they work.
Connecting words to meaning, yes, but also to situations, experiences, and ultimately your own feelings.
That's what makes it useful. And those little phrases from the review, they can be like building blocks, can't they?
How do you mean?
Well, you take a little sad and add why.
I'm feeling a little sad because my friend moved away. It's a starting point.
Ah, right. Scaffolding. They provide a framework to build more detailed sentences about your emotions.
Yeah.
Exactly. A launch pad. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what are the crucial takeaways? What should listeners really hold on to?
I think the main thing is recognizing, understanding, and starting to actively use these 10 core emotion words.
Yeah, that foundation of the 10 words. Down, overwhelmed, anxious, positive, tough, excited, frustrated, relieved, embarrassed, grateful. Knowing what they mean, how they're generally used, that's step one.
They cover a really good range of common everyday feelings, and they appear all the time in natural conversation.
We saw that right from Emma and Tom. They're woven into how we connect. So pay attention. Notice them in movies, songs, real chats.
Active listening, immersion, it really helps you get a feel for their usage.
And remember, the audio review showed there's flexibility. Different phrases can express similar feelings. You have options.
And linking the feeling to specific situations and experiences, like the examples did, is key. Context helps you remember and use them appropriately.
Right. If you recall a time you felt relieved, you're more likely to remember the word and when to use it. Personal connection is powerful.
Definitely aids recall and application.
Makes sense. Okay, so our final thought for today. I'd really encourage you, listener, to actively think about how these words fit into your life.
Take a moment maybe later today or think about your week.
Yeah, reflect on a situation where you felt something. Try to label that feeling now using one of these 10 words. Be conscious about it.
Consider what triggered it, how intense it was. Could you describe it in English now with a bit more confidence?
That's your little task. It's about internalizing this, making it part of your own toolkit, moving from passive listening to active engagement.
A crucial step in making the vocabulary functional for you.
So that brings us to the end of this deep dive on talking about emotions in English. We really hope you found it helpful.
I hope you feel a little more equipped to connect with others on that emotional level using English.
Because that's what language is ultimately about, right?
Yeah.
Connection.
Precisely. Building those bridges. Until our next exploration.
Exactly. Until next time.